Hello Internet, I am Corione, your witch in residence. You know, as a witch, part of my training involves seeing how little effects can have massive consequences down the road. I need to be able to look at a situation and see all the variations and then determine the most likely, so that the right pieces are in the right place at the right time, so that just the right nudge can move a whole mountain. It turns out I was uniquely suited to this kind of work. See, when I was a kid, I played a lot of chess. My father would drill me endlessly. He wanted to teach me a life skill, which I'm actually super happy about. When I was stuck in a game, he would say something that Hollywood has also immortalized.
Look at the whole board.
Here's the game. Disney is hemorrhaging money. Disney Plus has been shedding subscribers. Disney has had several major public flops. And worst of all, Disney has been losing market share. Because of Disney Corp's public politics, Disney has almost halved its possible market share.
Look at the whole board.
Let's look at the pieces. We have the king, Bob Iger. He was the former CEO. He recently replaced his replacement, Bob Chapek. He must have been brought in for a purpose, as the board of directors brought him in short term. He's there to right the ship because he has to for his own legacy. We have the queen, Kathleen Kennedy. She's the current chief of Lucasfilm. She's 69. She has been very motivated by a social agenda and has a tendency to vanish during a crisis. She plays a lot of games to get people out of her way. We have the bishops, Ike Perlmutter. He's been pushing to right the ship of Disney at the corporate level. We have Victoria Alonso. She's a woke activist. She was very high up in Marvel, and she's recently been let go. We have the Knights, Kevin Feige, who's currently running Marvel into the ground. We have Jim Morris, currently trying to right the ship at Pixar after several high-profile disasters. We have the Rooks, the Disney parks. I'm going to go with Disney World and Disneyland for this. We'll leave Euro Disney and the Japanese parks out of this. We also have the pawns that are going to be important to our story. We have Jon Favreau, the fan darling who has been making money for Lucasfilm in his Mandoverse. We have Dave Filoni, the current Star Wars person who seems to be able to make a narrative that the fans actually like. We have James Mangold, the director of Indy 5, The Dial of Destiny. You may know him as the director of Logan or Ford versus Ferrari, or if you're like me, Walk the Line. We have Sharmeen Obad Chinroy. She's a documentarian, quite a good one from my understanding, who is trying to break into the drama scene. We have Leslie Headland. Leslie Headland is the former assistant to Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein, for those not in the know, is a monster of a human being, and he's the one who actually directly trained Leslie. The rest of the pawns have pretty much already been knocked out of the board, such as Patty Jenkins, as an example. Now, the other side of the board? Don't make any mistake. It's the fandom.
Look at the whole board.
How do these pieces move? What do these pieces do? Bob Iger needs to have a big win. If he can't get a big win, he will lose his legacy. As someone who is attracted to the American political arena, legacy is vital to his existence there. He needs to right the ship, have a few successful movies, and position Disney to move into the future. Now, he has about 6 short years left to do this. KK has only had success when she wasn't where the buck stopped. Don't get me wrong, she's had successes, but she's had to rely on others a great deal to get them. She has, I think, the record for hiring and firing directors for one project. She's reshot over 80% of some movies. She's fired expert personnel. She's announced projects that had zero chance of happening and has been known to directly snub fans. Lucasfilm has had their biggest failures under her tenure. The bishops are not currently in play. One took himself off the board, Ike, and the other has been fired, Victoria. Kevin Feige is feeling the pressure now to succeed and doesn't want to take risks right now. Okay, Jim Morris is in the same position, basically. Now, John is positioned to be queened. What that means in chess is that when you get a pawn to the opponent's side of the board, it becomes a queen and follows those rules. Now, Dave is in a position to support John's run. We have James Mangold, who's about to have a massive flop on his hands with Indy 5. As such, he's about to be taken out by, I'm going to call it Fandom's Pawn 3. Okay? We have Charmine Abad Chinroy. She's the youngest pawn in the mix. She needs a big win to make it big. And she thinks KK is the one to put her in that position. Okay? Leslie Headland. Look, she's a pariah. How could she not be? Now, she yearns to have the position, though, that she was promised all those years ago when she was working for the Kingmaker in Hollywood. So she needs to not only have a big win, but a massive one. One so big, it accelerates her across the board and she's queened. Now, let's look at the last several moves. Solo by Phil Lord. The Star Wars movie by Zack Snyder. Star Wars 1313. The Boba Fett movie by Josh Trank. Star Wars Detours. The Rian Johnson Star Wars trilogy. Rangers of the New Republic. The Colin Trevorrow Episode 9. Michael Andot's Force Awakens. The Obi-Wan film trilogy. The Benioff and Wise Star Wars film. Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron. The J.D. Dillard Project. Gareth Edwards' version of Rogue One. Star Wars Underworld. James Mangold's other Star Wars project, the Boba Fett movie. Kevin Feige's movie, and I think at least 4 other Disney Plus series. They've all been canceled. Now, Disney is growing desperate for some big wins. They cannot afford another black eye. Kathleen Kennedy also needs a big win. One so epic that everyone forgets her past failures. Recently, Victoria Alonso and a massive amount of the Disney HR team has been removed in an attempt to redirect the political engine of Disney. They are hoping desperately to show that the politics of the company have changed, and in an effort to attract back families, those on both sides of the political spectrum, they're doing everything they can.
Look at the whole board.
What's happening now? KK is, as I said, 69 years old? And it takes about 5 years or more to get a movie from idea to in the theater on average. So she'd be 75 when the next movie came out, well past her retirement age. So anything new now won't be her problem within probably a year or two. So if it's going to be her legacy, it has to be announced right now, even if it's half-baked. If her name is going to get attached, she has to make this happen. Conversely, all Jon Favreau needs to do is keep the customers happy and hold out until the turn where he's queened. He needs Iger needs Marvel to produce. He needs Pixar to produce. He needs Lucasfilm to produce. If any of those pillars fall, any single one of them just stumbles, Iger's legacy is done.
Look at the whole board.
All right, so what's the next move? Disney cannot and will not allow anything that won't make a profit out the door. They cannot risk looking political, and they cannot chance the fandom will force the removal of other pieces. In chess, the most defensive of defensive moves, in my opinion, is the Caro-Kann defense. It allows a player the most flexibility with the least investment in one strategy. The plan is pretty simple. Advance a few key pawns up. Let the knights be ready to react, and the bishops are almost unneeded unless directly attacked in one of the massive traps that these pawns have opened up. This is what Disney is doing. Plain and simple. They are forcing fandom to act, forcing fandom to pick a direction for the attack. That way Disney knows which way to move. The malfunction in Iger's plan, though? Kathleen Kennedy wants that legacy of her own brass ring. And KK has moved out of position. She's attacking in several directions at once, and it's fouling Iger's game. So what will Iger do? What can Iger do? In my office, I have 27 books from other religions. They're core holy books. Among them is a very well-worn Bible in the original Hebrew, right beside my comic book version of the Bible. In it, there's a word that comes up 74 times. Selah. It means pause and consider. So I'd like you to do that right now. Pause this video and consider. See if you can figure out Disney's next moves. Then come back and see what I think will happen. You ready? Okay. The fandom has been very disjointed of late. Hardcore fans and the general audience have not been playing a cohesive game. They have been trying to take every piece off the board, not one piece at a time. They don't know that taking the king will end the game. So here's the move. In the advanced variation, white takes black's pawn on d5 with his e4 pawn. Okay, what does that mean? Iger wants to advance his favorite pawn so that he can take out the opposing pawn and run it to be queened. He will also need to distract the fandom with something. They want to buy moves, time really, so no one notices the pawn move up. So here it is. Deploy his knights and queen up one side of the board, taking small moves to pull pieces to the queen's side. Then in a big set of moves, rid yourself of the old queen and get the pawn queened. So what does that mean? Kathleen Kennedy is going to be free to think she's winning with Marvel and Pixar. She's going to announce everything, get it all out. And then when the pressure is on, Iger will sacrifice KK and Leslie, let Marvel and Pixar clean up, and then when no one is looking, John takes over at Lucasfilm and cans everything not in his and Iger's plan. Now, if it works, Disney wins, and really, if they win the box office, by giving us good movies, moves, we all win. So what can we do? It's actually really simple. We need to support what we like. Even if we hate the players, if they do something good, watch it, discuss it. Talk about it in places we know Disney watches. If we don't like it, no feedback at all. Complete radio silence. Anything else will be used in the argument. Well, at least they're talking about it. Okay, did I miss anything? Do you think there is a better move on the board? Let me know in the comments. I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you very much. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. Take care, everybody.